Yeah, what's happening? We about to bring that action. Gotta hold it down for my Seattle Kraken. Ay, we going beneath the waves. We going beneath the waves. Get it hype, step onto the ice. Ready for some action. Release the Kraken. Ay, we going beneath the waves. Going beneath the waves.
What is up, everyone? Welcome into the Beneath the Waves podcast, your weekly source of all things Seattle Kraken and beyond. I am Matt.
And I'm Heather.
I'm Derek.
And I'm Alex.
And we have now reached episode 12 of the BTW pod. We'd like to welcome in all our new friends who are joining us. We hope that you had a nice, relaxing holiday season with your friends and family and are very excited to be back in your audio feeds. Huge thank you to everyone who has joined us so far, has dropped a follow, or has left us a review. As always, we have a loaded show after that break that we took with some Kraken news, game recaps, a check-in with Coachella Valley, and a discussion of the Mount Rushmore of Seattle Kraken games. But to kick us off, Heather, do you want to take us through the Kraken news that's happened over the last while?
I do, and we have quite a lengthy news segment today, starting with some injury updates. First, I'm going to talk about some of our new injuries, unfortunately, but Joey Daccord has an upper body injury. It happened in practice the day before the Colorado Avalanche game, and then it was aggravated during the game, I guess, 2 times. That's what Coach Bylsma said. We saw him sort of get stung by a puck during the game, and he went down hard, but he came back in that game and hasn't been available since. In the meantime, Alex Steska has been up from Coachella on an emergency basis to back up Grew, but today we found out January 5th that he's been placed on injured reserve, so I'm assuming Steska will be around more long-term with that, but never a good thing when we have somebody like so solid Joey to go on IR, so super sad about that. Hopefully it's short-lived. Adam Larson has an upper body injury. He didn't play the third period of the recent Oilers game, and Coach Bylsma, when asked about his status, said we'll just have to see how he reacts. So not sure what that means, but we'll find out soon, I hope, and hopefully he's back for the next game against the Devils. Yanni Gourde has a lower body injury. He was a game time decision for the Oilers game, but he ended up not playing. Ben Myers was called up from Coachella and played in that game. And then today as well, we found out that Yanni is also on injured reserve. So really sad for our Kraken players and all the injuries they have, but a little in the positive categories that Jordan Eberle was once again seen at the game against the Oilers on crutches. So at least he's up and moving. That makes me happy. But otherwise, get well soon, Kraken, because otherwise we're going to bubble wrap you, and that's going to be how you play from now on because we cannot lose anybody else. The World Juniors has kicked off, and the gold medal game is going on right now, but just a little update there. Edward Chalet and Team Czechia took home the bronze medal. And Edward Chalet actually secured the win in the 14th round of a shootout. Wild game. But he also finished the entire tournament with 6 goals and 2 assists in 7 games. Some other prospect numbers. Zeb Forsfall from Sweden had 2 goals and 3 assists. Jakob Fibiger from Czechia had 5 assists. Caden Price from Canada had 1 goal and 1 assist. Julius Mintinen from Finland had 1 goal and 1 assist. And Berkeley Kitten from Canada had 1 assist.
And then also on the news front, today in Seattle was PWHL Takeover Day. It was a game this afternoon held at Client Pledge Arena as the Montreal Victoire took on the Boston Fleet. Coach Jess Campbell did the ceremonial puck drop to a tremendous ovation. If you haven't seen the videos on Twitter, when she gets called out, the place just erupts. It was awesome to see. And the arena was absolutely packed with many Seattle Kraken members in attendance as well. The attendance for the event was 12,608 people, which is absolutely awesome to see, especially for trying to drive up hype to get a team in Seattle. So hopefully that's a promising sign for that. It was a very exciting game, went all the way to a shootout with Boston winning 3-2 at the end of it. If you haven't had the chance to see it, I'd recommend you go out and check out the highlights on YouTube because it was a very exciting game and hopefully the first of many to be happening in Seattle. But with that news wrap up complete, it's been a long time and we need to check in on those vibes and how we're doing. So, Heather, you're already shaking your head. So, why don't you tell us how you're feeling?
I was just thinking, do we need to check in on vibes? Because I don't know. I think right now the injuries are upsetting. It's like we were already kind of struggling, and then to add the injuries to it makes it really difficult. I am disappointed with the fact that we keep having to come back from being down so far in games. That's frustrating. It's great when we can have these comeback games, but at the same time, why do we keep having to come back from being behind so far? That's disappointing to me. Um, there are some times when I'm not seeing a bunch of fight on the ice from the team, and that's also disturbing because you have to just go out there and play no matter what the stakes are right now, and I'm seeing less of that at times. So, we can't save it for the third period and then come in fighting. So I don't know. It's this team. I love this team. I'm here. I'm here for the long haul. I don't know what else to say, but like it just is what it is. And I think, we're in this position because we put ourselves in such a hole, and this is where we are right now. And I don't know the possibility of us climbing out of it, but I'm just gonna enjoy watching some hockey. I think that's where I am right now. I cannot anymore think like, okay, this game matters so much for us to make playoffs or not. I think I just need to enjoy the games and the little moments and the things that are fun about it, and fights and great goals and beautiful passes. And I think that's where I am right now.
I'll chip in here. I don't really think you can say it much better than that, but completely agree. I think there are times where you should be more locked in and should be more critical. And I think there are times where you should just kind of sit in the back seat and be along for the ride. I think our time this season for staying really nervous and anxious for each game and seeing where it'll go for the playoff odds, it's probably over this year. But hey, we got next year to do that. But yeah, take a relaxing seat and yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy. Agreed. We start out down so many games, but it has led to some like cool comebacks, which we'll talk about today, I guess. But yeah, it's not great, but it's also like not horrible. It's not like the worst thing ever, and we're dealing with a lot of injuries right now, so who knows? We really just, want to see good things out of our players, especially the younger ones, or especially the ones that we know will stay after this year. The ones that maybe not, who really cares how they're performing, other than like for trade value. Um, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too.
So I have the trade deadline marked down and highlighted in my calendar. So that's probably how I'm feeling right now. Realistically speaking, we're not making the playoffs. Heather said it perfectly. There's just been too many games that we've been clawing ourselves back out of a hole. It really does seem like this is a carbon copy from last season. It's just with new coaching and a couple new, shiny pieces on the roster, but the whole of the roster is the same. So what we're seeing is exactly what we're supposed to get. Unfortunately, trying not to be critical because at this point of the season, we all know what's going to happen. We're not going to make the playoffs, barring any kind of incredible miracle. But I think and for myself, who is very critical, just need to enjoy these games. Don't look at my tweets. It's just going to be one of those rides for the rest of the season. So we're going to have games that are going to be incredible, and we're going to have games that it's just a poop sandwich. So you just got to, take the good and take the bad because welcome to Seattle, baby. Welcome to Seattle.
Yeah, for me, my idea coming into this check in this recording was New Year, same mid. Like nothing's changing I felt really good when we started off of this break that things were gonna be super awesome. We came up with that strong return game against Vancouver and we did awesome against Utah, and then we just slumped back to where we were. And you really hate to see it, but I mean that's Seattle Kraken life. So here we are. I keep watching the pie wedge on Money Puck get smaller and smaller and smaller. So eventually there's going to not be any point in checking for it. It's just pure curiosity at this point, wondering at what point can you actually not see that teal blue of the Seattle Kraken color. And really, I'm just here living it game by game, waiting for these milestones to hit. We had a couple milestones hit this week. Keep those little highlights coming. And just putting it out there right now, we had this talk before we recorded. We are putting a moratorium on the Jim Carrey, so you're saying there's a chance GIF. There is not a chance. We do not want to see it in our Twitter feeds. Do not have that happen. But in more positive notes now, we have our game recaps for last week. And we start off with game 37 at the Vancouver Canucks, which was a 5-4 overtime win. And when you look at how this game was described on Twitter, on Instagram, wherever you might be, the word used a lot was historic. And we'll get to why in a second here. Vancouver opened the scoring with the only goal of the first period from Brock Besser. The Kraken's response goal came early in the second period, courtesy of Matty Beniers, hashtag not a bum, Matty Beniers out here getting another goal on the score sheet. Matty skated up the middle of the ice, wristed it from just inside the blue line, and then deflected the puck off Thatcher Demko's glove and in. All hope then seemed to be lost for Seattle as the Canucks scored three unanswered goals. I know for me, sitting watching at home, I was just sinking into the couch, letting the blankets and cushions consume me, and just saying, please God, bring an end to this. But we were still only in the second period. I think they got that last unanswered goal early in the third. But then somebody get Disney on the phone because we had a Disney movie level comeback on the way. With less than 5 minutes left in the game, Jaden Schwartz again utilizes his newfound sorcery and scores another goal from behind the goal line, deflecting it off of Demko and in. And it was time to pull Gru because we have an extra attacker on the ice. Vince Dunn causes a turnover right in front of the net and sends the shot over his blocker. And then, but wait, there is more because with Gru pulled in less than 60 seconds on the clock, Jaden Schwartz takes the puck net front and knocks in his own rebound to send this game to an overtime. File this next moment under things you love to see because Tyler Myers, F that guy, turned over the puck, which Vince Dunn took coast to coast, mouthguard dangling from his teeth, and sends it past Demko to seal the deal. And with this comeback, the Seattle Kraken became the third team in NHL history to overcome a 3-goal deficit with less than 5 minutes remaining in regulation. And that is where the history lands.
So I'm just going to jump in right now because I tweeted out, can we just put Stetska in about halfway through this game? And I was replied many occasions with very sarcastic and upset comments because that's just how this game was going. If you go back to that day, you can look at all my tweets about how bad this team was, how we're garbage, how we need to get sorted, and quite frankly, I turned off the game when they're in a hole and saw that Jaden Schwartz scored and said, oh, well, they got a chance, and hopped into the shower. I hopped into the shower only to step out of the shower to check my phone to see the Seattle Kraken won. And while I stood there like an absolute tool, I probably, biting my tongue, literally tweeting out, I am eating my effing words so hard right now because I was. And, having to rewatch the third period, what a comeback that was. And that's the type of fight I want to see from this team every single day because they were war dogs in that game. Like they fought to the bitter end. And it's like, who is this team? Who are these guys? Like we've never seen something like that. And to see that at a replay because I didn't see it live was still a lot of fun. And like, give them credit. Like, what a comeback. What a performance. Vince Dunn proving not only he can be a pest and, come to the defensive players and needs to knock a couple teeth out, but he can score, he can defend, he can do everything. And then Mr. Jaden Schwartz, Mr. 17 again. Where has this this goal scoring talent come from? Like it really shows, has he been this type of player? Could he have always been this type of player, barring all those injuries? And I think he's continued to show that over the last couple of games. And so, hats off to the Kraken on this one. They've made me eat like 4 or 5 hats after the end of that game. So I can't say anything bad about that game. I could, but I can't because they literally made me eat every single word I tweeted out.
I was gonna say, I'm glad that the Kraken made you eat your words, Alex. And hopefully you ate a poop sandwich as well. I hope you had one of those on hand because you should probably have one of those as well with all that negativity up in there. I wasn't able to watch this game. I saw some of the highlights, but I actually saw it was like 5-1 at one point, I think, before the goal was waved off. Was there a goal that was waved off? So it literally like popped up as 5-1. And I was like, oh, dude, I turned it off. I was like, I'm not even gonna stay invested in this game. And then people were texting me later and saying like, "Oh, are you watching the Kraken game?" I'm like, "No, what do you mean? That was over like an hour ago." And they're like, "No, dude." So just crazy game. Glad Alex went to town on that sandwich. And yeah, hopefully the Kraken make him do it more this year.
I almost turned this game off. I was so close to it because so Connor Garland was in the box and he flew out of the box and immediately scored. And I was like, well, that's that. I'm done. I was so close to turning it off. I'm so glad I didn't. I just thought, just hang in just a little longer, just watch a little bit more. And I'm so glad I did because what a game, what a comeback. Like I still like can't really wrap my head around it because it's just insane that they could do that. And again, where is that scoring power in other games? But for this one, just really amazing. It's really cool. They can come back like that. Like I said at the top, unfortunately, that's becoming too much of a pattern. But I just feel like this had to give some confidence to them. You know, they just didn't have any confidence going into break. They sort of like limped into that holiday break. So this had to just give them a little bit of confidence. So that part is good. Also, Eddie O loved, he was getting so heated during it, like shoot the puck. And as they're coming back, like his attitude just completely changing, like, oh my gosh, look at what's going on. And it just was really fun to hear John and Eddie go through the emotions like we were as well, especially Eddie. So super fun game. And that brings us to another really fun game, Game 38 versus Utah. This was a 5-2 win. This was Oliver Bjorkstrand's 200th game, and it was his bobblehead night. So bobblehead nights continued to be pretty good luck for the team. Turbo took a boarding penalty when he sent Michael Kesslering face to face into the boards, and Logan Cooley scored first on that power play. It was 8:41 into the first, so we were down immediately into the first, and that is to me again. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here we go again. We're going to be down. We're going to have this comeback. Shorts was able to get a tap in goal, but there was a coach's challenge for offsides, and Utah won. So again, no goal. So again, sitting there, I actually was at this game. I'm sitting there watching Utah scores, and then we have a goal score like called back, and I'm like, this is just terrible. I just did not. Also, I should be transparent. This was my birthday game, and I just really wanted to win. It was the first game they could have possibly won for my birthday. I've seen 3 losses already, and I just thought, just do something good for me. So at this point, I'm like, this is bad news bears for me. But at 18:06 in the first, Yanni was able to grab the rebound off a shot by Riker Evans, and he tied the game 1-1. And 51 seconds later, Berkey was able to redirect a puck into the net while he was basically not even looking at the net. Still amazed by that one. A great backhanded pass into the net. And that put the Kraken up 2-1 going into first intermission. And vibes were definitely high. This was really exciting because those 2 goals back to back like that were really amazing. It's an own response goal. Super cool. There was a lot of sort of missed calls in this one, if I'm being honest, but sort of on both sides. So it's not like, I always feel like it evens out karmically in hockey, and I feel like that's what happened in this one. But a missed stick holding call really led to Utah tying the game 2-2 with just a little under a minute left in the second. And then 7:22 into the third, Capo Capo had this incredible pass to Schwartz, like, I don't know, movie highlight pass. Like, you should watch it if you didn't. And he took it down the ice and put the Kraken ahead 3-2. And then we just talk about Kako being a really good addition to the team because he had yet another amazing pass to Matty Beniers, who initially kind of like whiffed the shot, but he cleaned up the rebound behind the blue line to ricochet the puck off Utah's goalie and right into the net. And the Kraken were then up 4-2. Then with 2:46 left in the third period, Utah pulled the goalie and Canner capitalized on the empty net, scoring with just a minute and 32 left, putting the Kraken up 5-2. So this was a really, really fun game. Little bit of everything, insane goals, incredible passing. Gru looked amazing. He had 28 saves with a .933 save percentage. And best of all, it was a birthday present to me, a win for my birthday, finally. So thank you, Kraken. And you're all welcome because obviously they won because it was my birthday and you all got to witness it.
Oh, well, thank you for your very advantageously placed birthday on the calendar. We are forever indebted to you.
You are so welcome.
I have just a couple of people I want to highlight in this one. First of all, Jaden Schwartz, again, like, where did this guy come from? He's doing amazing. We were saying before we were recording, like, did anyone have Jaden Schwartz being tied as the top goal scorer on your bingo card? Because if you say yes, you're either lying or you're Jaden Schwartz's mom. Those are the only 2 acceptable people to have that on their bingo card. I love Jared McCann continuing to pad his goal scoring counts with all the empty netters this season, because I don't know, I think this is like the third or fourth empty net goal he's had to just keep boosting his numbers. And Capo Caco, love having this guy around. I think in the 3 weeks since we've had him, we've said more positive things about him than we did in 3.5 years with Will Borgen. So good trade, Ron Francis.
So just a few things. I hate the coach's challenge because it bugs me the fact that like a coach can challenge an offside that took place like 3.5 years ago, and the refereeing and the officials down in Toronto will be like, yeah, we'll totally deal with this. So that's one thing. Other than that, everything's positive. Jaden Schwartz is a unit. Again, saying the same thing over and over again. Man can keep scoring as much as he wants. Let's go 25, 30 goals. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. And then Capo Caco. New York traded away a player who is actually talented. When utilized properly, can do wonders for a team. And Kako has been such a great addition to the lineup. He's playing great with Maddie. And so I really have nothing, no negatives to really say about Kako since, really showing up. He's been all fight, and, he's the type of player that the Kraken have really been missing. Not afraid to get dirty in the corners, not afraid to get right in front of the net. He's getting both things. He's an excellent passer, and he can shoot the puck. So, like, that's everything you want in a player. And we finally got one. And all it cost us was a couple of draft picks that will amount to probably nothing and an expiring Will Borgen. So I'm very happy. Shout out to Will Borgen getting his first as a Ranger today.
Yeah, I'm also pretty happy with this one. I think we should give Heather some more birthdays somehow. I don't know how that would work, but probably lead to more wins. So there's that. I also want to say that while I agree that Kako is dope, I don't want to endorse the Will Borgen slander that Matt levied earlier. Will Borgen is my sweet prince, and I've said plenty of good things about him in the last 3.5 years. And I know that New York will never be able to take care of my sweet boy the same way that my team would be able to. So, yeah, I'm enraged that you had the gall to say that, and I do not endorse it. Just want to say that. Okay, moving on. So, game 39, game 39 here against the Canucks. Our good luck streak has ended with, or sorry, not good luck. Our good fortune streak has ended on this podcast. Everything else is bad news bears, Kraken related. This was a loss, but it was exciting. It was pretty exciting. So, in the first period, about a minute and a half into the game, Channy Steeves strikes first with a ghost of Kraken past puck luck goal. Shout out my boy Chet Buchanan. That's what he wanted out of his Kraken Christmas was some more puck luck. Yeah, this was puck luck, okay? You have like the 521st best player in the league just doodling on down the ice, just flicking at the goalie. It somehow goes in. That was puck luck. It barely got through Demko. And then the Kraken allowed 3 unanswered goals. Yeah, a lot happened in that time. But basically, very quickly, there was a 2-on-1, like in the crease bang-in goal by Max Sasson, and then there was a breakaway by Connor Garland that in back-to-back games against the Kraken, getting a breakaway goal, and that was from a neutral zone turnover. And then there was a snipe by an unmarked pest by the name of Tyler Myers, who was standing on the blue line, and he waltzed in with no one there and just shot it and over Grubauer's shoulder. So that was not good. Also, Tyler Myers is a nominee for Rat of the Decade of 2020 to 2030, and that made it 3-1. So Kevin Kevin Lankinen had to sub in for Thatcher Demko because Demko left with an injury, and the Kraken took advantage of this. There was a beautiful tic-tac-toe play set up a couple minutes after Vancouver's third goal of the game, and that went from Burakovsky to Montour to Wright to Beniers, and Beniers was just right in the slot. And I think John Forsland said it was on a tee for Beniers from Shane Wright, Heather's guy. Heather's real guy, and Beniers sniped it over Lincoln's shoulder. So he is hashtag still, what is that? Not a bum. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I would need to say that. I've never said anything bad about Beniers before. Beniers is one of my favorite players. So I'm just saying that just to say it. He's not a bum. And then game tying goal, 52 and a half seconds left in the game. Vince Dunn from Burakovsky again, lets it rip, completely snipes Lincoln, and from the blue line, it was some sharpshooter shit. You know what I'm saying? And sorry. And Vince Dunn in being involved in comebacks is just a guarantee at this point. He has clutch genes. And then overtime was honestly pretty good in my opinion. The Kraken maintained possession, but it was their normal like super defensive possession where you're skating in your own zone, which is a viable strategy because, you don't want to lose it necessarily. But they could have been a little more aggressive, I think, especially knowing they all know how bad their shootout game is, and Bilesma apparently knew who he was going to send out for the shootout, and so I would have pressed the gas a little more in overtime, Bilesma. The aforementioned poor shootout game. Bjorkstrand, I love you. Oliver Bjorkstrand and I go way back. I used to watch him in like 2013, okay, when he was playing the WHL. That guy's sick. But I love you, man, but comically bad eating it. Stick in the glove. He's like sideways. It looks like he's flying on a broom or something. It's the worst angle fall I've ever seen. That was the first shot. The second shot was given to Capo Caco, and I think he just like missed it or something. And then Maddie Beniers hashtag not a bum got the third shot. And I think Heather said in our group chat, but it's like, yeah, once you saw Beniers is going to the shootout, And I mean, I've seen Beniers do good in the shootout before, but like, come on. We have like Jared McCann. We have the clutch Vince Dunn. We have the goalmeister Jaden Schwartz. How are we not sending in any of those guys? And instead, we're sending in back-to-back second overall pick busts with our second and third shootout shooters. Come on.
Can't wait to analyze that whole monologue he just had about how he didn't think Matty Beniers was a bum, but instead calls him a bust. I'm not sure how bum to bust translates, but we'll keep our observations open. Not a whole lot to say about this one from me. Like Derek said, Vince Dunn being the clutch comeback king is just awesome. He's our go-to guy for that. And overtime hockey continues to be my simultaneously favorite and least favorite thing because I love watching 3-on-3 and how much room they have to move. But my like blood pressure just hates it, and it's just not a good time. And then yeah, that roster for the shootout was just that was not it. I'd rather you put in like Jamie Alexiak than Matty Beniers. At least Jamie Alexiak can smash it 174 miles per hour, whatever he did at the Super Skills Showcase. So maybe we got to do a little more analyzing of our depth chart there, Disco Dan.
Yeah, the shootout made me irate. I was like, why are you sending these people out? Bjorkstrand, okay. I'm okay with that. That whatever. Like sometimes he's really been clutch in those moments, but after that I was like, okay, sure, he's gonna send out Jaden Schwartz right now. He's gonna send out Canner right now. He's gonna send out anybody. No. And it was me that said when if Maddie's next, I knew we were done. I mean, I hate to say it, but I just knew he just shootout's not his thing, right? It's nothing against him. It's not his thing. But I was even thinking like put Lars in. Like when are we going to see Lars in the shootout? I agree. Jamie Alexiak would have been better. Anybody, but that was not. I don't think those were our good choices. And I don't know if he expected us to go many, many, many rounds, and so those were just like the first. But you got to put your good guys in first. I don't get it. So that was really frustrating to me. I agree with Derek, though. OT looked pretty good. They possessed the puck a good chunk of the time. Like it did really look good. They just couldn't convert on it, and that happens a lot in OT. But I have no complaints really on that particular part of the game. I just think unfortunate that they couldn't come back from this one. But again, why are we having to keep coming back from being down? So again, there we are.
Derek, I want you to give me the PR representation for your HR department because the fact that you can tear, Matty Beniers a new one, but at the same time call him like a lovable Bostonian in the same breath is astounding. It's incredible to say the least. Because if I said that, I would be absolutely crucified. But we're gonna go back to the game. Yeah, we suck at the shootout. I don't really know if I could say it any more plainly than that. Kind of like what Heather said, what Derek said, what Matt said. Matty Beniers skates out onto the ice, and I was already changing the record on these, on the record stat like page that I have to just keep track of the record for the Kraken because I knew that we lost. So that's how that kind of rolled. But when you look at the overtime were fabulous in the overtime. Like we were actually we almost scored a couple of times. We just couldn't convert. And then, Vince Dunn is Vince Dunn. When he is fully healthy, he is dangerous. And he really is an effective player for this team. And it just shows you the level of compete and the leadership abilities that he does have, even if he doesn't wear a letter. And so glad that he's with the Kraken for the next couple of years. So, yeah, there's things that we can work on. There's things that, keep doing what they're doing. But when it comes to the shootout, I would just rip up whatever strategies you have and throw Jamie Olesiak in with Adam Larson and
Josh
Brandon
Mahura.
Tanev. Brandon Tanev, but it's actually Joey Daccord disguised as Brandon Tanev at this rate. Like let's just figure it out,
Dude,
boys.
at this rate, just throw in a poop sandwich, call it a
Yeah,
day.
poop sandwich, just right on the ice. They'll figure it out. They'll figure it out. But that is going to bring us to game 40 against the Edmonton Oilers. Unfortunately, we lost this game in a 4-2 loss. Just a couple of notes before the puck even dropped. Ben Myers was called up from the Coachella Valley Firebirds as Yanni Gourde was out with an injury. And this was the 500th NHL game for one Vince Dunn, the Dundertaker. Now, going into the game, with 57 seconds into the game, the Kraken gave up a goal. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name, was left all alone and fed a sweet pass to Leon Draisaitl. At 14:42 in the first period, Jeff Skinner sneaks behind the Kraken defense and scores on a helpless Grubauer to give the Oilers a 2-0 lead. Criticized goaltending a lot, but in this type of breakdown, defense, just kind of left Skinner all alone, and Grubauer can only do so much. So can't really blame him on that. But after one period of play, the Kraken had a woeful 3 shots on net. So, you can't really win games when, you can't get the puck on net. And that's kind of been a repetitive criticism that I think all of us have had when it comes to the Kraken, is that they're too fancy. They're unwilling to take shots at ugly angles or from wherever. They're trying to get it right in front of the net. So the shots on goal are horrible most periods. But moving forward, the Kraken finally, they awoke in the second period. They were able to get the puck moving more efficiently. However, the Oilers took a 3-0 lead when our Ryan Nugent-Hopkins scored just about halfway through the second period. However, with less than 5 minutes remaining in the period, Mr. Chandler Stevenson, Stevie, Channy Steves, for those who absolutely hate that name, we're going to go with it, picks up the puck on the break and snipes it top shelf to put the Kraken within 2 and get on the scoreboard. So there was no shutout. So, praise Jesus, hallelujah. Also, Jaden Schwartz, Mr. 17 again, brings the Kraken within 1 when he picks up a loose rebound. Unfortunately, an empty net goal for the Oilers cemented the loss after Bjorkstrand absolutely blew a tire in the defensive zone. And Draisaitl just, casually just fed the puck into the net. And that's all she wrote. Unfortunately, Adam Larson was absent from the bench at the start of the third period and was later announced he would not return. As Heather mentioned, he has a upper body injury. So for all you Canadians out there, that's something to do with the lower body. And then finally, Brandon Montour played 13 minutes and 2 seconds in the third period alone, with Larson's absence. Like, that's just absolute insanity. If it was me, I'd be requiring an oxygen mask and a lie down with like a cup of coffee or a cup of tea to help, tend my legs. But his total time on ice for the entire game was 29 minutes and 40 seconds. Like, Buddy played half of an NHL game last night. I can't complain about that at all. Absolute workhorse, and really showcased, his ability to do absolutely everything. And hats off to Montour. But it's a loss. It's against the Oilers. Like, the fact that we even had a chance to come back is saying something. So I can't really complain about it. I'm enjoying the hockey. So yeah.
Yep, just gotta enjoy the hockey. I think Grubauer just was a brick wall. Some of those saves he made, he had just no business making them. It was really amazing. Some just really like highlight reel saves from him, I think. And some of the moments when the defense really helped out too, when he was making wild saves and then had to make another one because the Oilers were getting the rebounds, and so we had some good defense in there too. But I guess you could then say, why did we need the good defense? But we did. So I appreciate that. But Grubauer was really great. Emerald City Hockey tweeted this, and I just keep thinking about it. Turns out you can't get away with spotting your opponent a big third period lead every time. I mean, that's basically sums up the game, right? Like we can't keep doing that. But again, like Alex said, it is the Oilers. They are a good team. I did not expect a win, and I am actually glad that we weren't shut out because it started off pretty abysmal. And was glad they at least woke up at some point and started getting some points on the board. But again, we're here just enjoying hockey. Yay.
Yeah, for me, this is when my mindset has to shift to just celebrating these smallest victories that we have. So, Brandon Montour being the absolute Iron Man and getting almost half hour ice time, that's something pretty awesome. Jaden Schwartz and this apparent resurgence that he's having out of nowhere, that's awesome to see. Chandler Stevenson, I'm gonna get hyped anytime he scores because all the people who were just absolutely dunking on us for saying that he's actually good and saying no, he's a waste of money and time and energy and wood on the bench, get out of here. I'm going to praise every goal or assist that he has from here on out. So little victories, even in the defeat, are what's going to carry me through the remaining however many games we have this season.
I think we might be the biggest Chandler Stevenson defenders that exist. I don't know if anyone goes to bat for this guy like us.
There was one kid in the stands they showed that had I came here all the way from Saskatchewan to see a game and it had number 9 on it. So that kid, that 12-year-old is hyped about Chandler Stevenson. So that makes 5 of us.
I have to get him on here.
As you say, metrics by ass. Stevenson is our player.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, just something I wanted to say about Montour. I remember Miro Heiskanen, it wasn't last year, it was the year before, playing us in the playoffs. And also I was watching the Wild and Stars playoff series before ours. Um, he was logging like 30 minutes a game in the playoffs, and I was like, that's insane. The fact that Montour is doing that in the regular season is wild to me. That I don't even like, could he be pushed further in the playoffs like Heiskanen is, like another 5 minutes? That's just because Heiskanen doesn't run 30 minutes in regular season. They were only doing that for the playoffs. The fact Montour is doing that in the regular season is especially a regular season like this is bonkers. I don't understand it. Honestly, I'm kind of upset that it happened. Like, you're gonna injure the guy, and we already have so many of those, and Montour is one of our hottest commodities, so gotta chill, but I'm glad he could do that. It's awesome. In terms of gas in the tank, it just seems like there wasn't really any from the start. Like we've all been saying, I mean, the team probably isn't that talented. We can all agree on that. And then the team also has been allowing a lot of early like deficits and had to come back. That's got to take like a ton of energy. And they've been doing that game after game after game. So I think with this one, it was just apparent that they're just completely out of gas. And I was reading a Sound of Hockey article about it, and really all of the conditions were there for the Kraken to want to try, but they came out so flat. And he said in the article, like without the first 6 minutes, it would have been like a 2-1 Kraken dub. But like the way that we opened the game was just so horrible. So that's the story of this one.
I'm just going to bring up one interesting fact before we jump into a new segment. Does anybody actually know the most time on ice in a game in NHL history?
No, but I'm fascinated.
All 60 minutes for a goaltender every single game.
So that's actually really good. And the Smartass Award goes to Derek.
As usual.
Let's go.
So it actually is dating back from on January 30th, 2003, and it is Nicholas Lindstrom has the most time on ice in a game with 71 minutes and 56 seconds against the Florida Panthers. I don't know how that's possible because it's in January, so the playoffs shouldn't even be happening. But it's the record. So I don't know.
I'm going to need to investigate that.
So it's going to be something that we're going to have to investigate and probably confirm next episode. But that's what it's saying. 71 minutes and 56 seconds. Lindstrom was on the ice for over an hour. So, but like I said, we're going to do a little bit more breakdown on that, and we'll figure that out, and we'll be able to give you like the truth next episode for sure. But we're going to, change our directions on this one, and we're going to talk about some desert dialogues. So the first game we're talking about is Friday, December 27th of last year, because, we are in 2025 now, against the Bakerfield Condors in a 4-3 win. Though the Condors scored first, Leighton Road tied the game when Yager Fergus shot bounced off of him into the net for his 6th of the season. Ty Nelson also got an assist on the goal. After the Condors pulled ahead, the Firebirds tied it in the final minute of the first with Ben Myers' 10th goal of the season. That is Ben Myers, a Seattle Kraken legend, scoring for the Firebirds. The Firebirds took their first lead of the game at 12:27 in the second with a goal from Nick Brouillard. Brennan Bureau and Mitchell Stevens had the assists. And Coachella made it a 2-goal lead with a goal during a 5-on-3 power play with Brandon Bureau's 3rd goal of the season. Logan Morrison and Yanni Neiman had the assist on this one. And then the Condors came back within one in the last 33 seconds of the game when former Firebird Connor Carrick scored. But the Firebirds held the Condors off and snapped their 3-game losing skid.
And then on Saturday, December 28th, they played versus the Ontario Reign. It was a 3-4 shootout loss. This was actually a sold-out crowd because it was Teddy Bear Toss night, which is super fun. Luke Henman's early goal, it was about 3 minutes in to the first. He actually set off the Teddy Bear Toss after an assist by David Goyette. This was the second time in 3 years that Hedman actually triggered the Teddy Bear Toss, which I just think is a fun stat. There was then about a 20-minute delay while they collected 15,287 teddy bears that will be given to local fire and police departments to give to children in need. So even though they lost, that is a total win. Ontario tied it early in the second, and then John Hayden scored on a power play to put the Firebirds ahead. Leighton Road and Niagara Furcus had the assists, and the Reign tied it up again quickly after that. And then they took a 3-2 lead with just 23 seconds left in the second. Ryan Winterton was able to collect a rebound and then bank the puck off an Ontario player's skate to tie the game in the third. Billy Ottabainen and Ryan Jones had the assists on that one. Overtime couldn't decide the game winner, so the teams were off to a shootout. Oh, a shootout. Brandon Bureau and Logan Morrison were both able to score, which is more than the Kraken did. But the first 2 skaters for the Reign also were able to get pucks past Jack LaFontaine, who was the goalie that night up from the Mavericks. And Yanni Newman's attempt was turned away. And the third skater for the Reign was able to notch the win for Ontario.
Finally, the last one of the year, December 31st against the Colorado Eagles, they had a 4-1 win. Firebirds went into the first intermission down by 1, but they were able to tie it up with just 25 seconds into the second period with a power play goal by Logan Morrison, his 5th of the season. Ben Myers and Max Lajoie had the assists on that goal. Coachella took the lead with Leighton Road's 7th of the season. This was off a nice feed from Ty Nelson, who had an assist on the goal. The Firebirds actually went up by 2 in the third with a goal from Ian McKinnon, his 3rd of the season. Yager Furcus and Ty Nelson had the assists on that one. And then the 4th and final goal was scored by Heather's guy, Ryan Winterton, his 9th of the season. Ben Myers, also Kraken legend, and Logan Morrison had the assists. In this game, the Firebirds were 6 for 6 on the PK, 1 for 2 on the power play, and now have points in 3 straight games.
And for the first game of the new year, Saturday, January 4th, they played at the Ontario Reign, and this was a 4-3 win. There was only 1 goal in the first period, but it belonged to Yanni Newman at 11:01 into the game. This was unassisted, and it was his 10th goal of the season. Then early in the second, Leighton Road scored on the power play to give the Firebirds a 2-0 lead. He was able to weave through traffic to get his 8th goal of the season at 1:17 into the second. Nick Brouillard and Brandon Bureau had the assists on that one. The Reign cut the Firebirds' lead in half just a few minutes later, but Ryan Winterton, yes, my guy, was able to convert on a defensive zone turnover to get Coachella's lead back to 2, and his goal was also unassisted, and it was also his 10th of the season. So just really odd coincidence there. They both had unassisted goals that were their 10th of the season. Just 1:22 into the third, Brandon Bureau had this incredible pass that you kind of have to see to believe to get the puck to Max McCormick, Captain Max, who put the Firebirds up by 3, and Bureau was the only assist on that one. The Reign scored the next 2 goals, one on the power play to bring them within 1, but that was when their scoring ended and the Firebirds came away with a 4-3 win. They now have points in 4 straight games, and that was Coco's 10th win of the season. So really awesome. We love seeing Coco get these wins, especially because now he's sort of main goalie since Duska's up with the Kraken. The Coachella Valley Firebirds are currently playing right now against the Colorado Eagles, and they are up 2-0. So we'll update you next week. But upcoming games for the Firebirds, when they play Wednesday the 8th against the Tucson Roadrunners, Saturday the 11th versus the Chicago Wolves, and Sunday the 12th against the Chicago Wolves. Top Firebirds this week, we have Yanni Newman and Ryan Winterton, each with 19 points. Newman has that in 31 games, Winterton in 23. Yager Furcus and John Hayden both are sitting at 18 points on the season. Furcus in 31 games, John Hayden in 28, and Max Lajoie has 16 points in 31 games.
And when we take a look at the AHL standings, Coachella sits in 5th in the Pacific Division with 37 points and 32 games played, while the Calgary Wranglers are sitting at the top with 47 points in their 33 games played. The points for the teams between those two are close. Ontario Reign have 39 points in 29 games played. San Jose Barracuda have 38 points in 31 games played. And the Eagles have 37 points in 29 games played.
All right, and with that, we're going to mix things up a little bit this week with our last segment. And following last week's historic, as I mentioned before, game in Vancouver, I got to thinking about what would you consider your 4 Mount Rushmore Kraken games. I feel for sure we're going to have some overlap in our lists, but I am definitely very interested in hearing your standout games and what they are through our very brief history as an NHL team. Can I just throw out an assumption that everyone has the Winter Classic on their list of all-time Kraken games?
Yes.
100%.
Excellent. I figured. I mean, that one was just an absolute spectacle between the walk-in, the jerseys, Bowie getting in a fight with Biz, Joey's performance. There's a shot of Joey celebrating at the end of the game. He does this like fist pump leg kick that I had that as the background on my phone for the longest time. And in my Kraken hockey cards, that's one of my all-time favorites. It's just such an awesome shot.
Is that everyone's most recent Kraken game that's on the list?
Most
Well,
recent, no.
I think I was going to add the Oiler comeback, or not the Vancouver comeback, because like that is historic in its own way. So even though I didn't watch it, it's definitely one of my like top Kraken games of all time, just because of the sheer type of comeback that they were able to come back from.
I think with that one, like maybe it's recency bias, but if you were to show someone like their first Kraken game to try them sell them on that, that'd be a pretty exciting game to do. Even if you showed the Instagram reel that NHL put out and edited together, like that was pretty fire and got me hyped up after the fact.
Yep, that one's on my list for sure. I still can't get over it. It's still blowing my mind that they came back from that. Like, and the fact that they're only the third team ever, third game ever in NHL history to come back in that way is, to me, has to be on the Mount Rushmore of games. Has to be.
Another one that's going to be, I don't know if everyone would agree with this. It's the 9-8 win over over the Los Angeles Kings, just because of how chaotic it was. Like the fact that the Kraken won in overtime. I believe they got like 5 goals in the second period and they ended up, blowing the lead in the third. But like the fact that like the Kraken were able to score 9 goals in a game.
That was
like,
probably the most surreal Kraken game of all time.
Yeah,
That was like a fever dream.
yeah, because like, and it was the fact that it was against the Kings and it was like a back and forth game, and it's like there's no way that it's going to be like 8-8 going into overtime. Like the thought of that to like think that like an NHL game with like professional hockey players is going to go into an overtime because it's 8-8 is just absolutely insane. And then the Kraken being able to pull that off as a win, like in my own way, it's a Kraken Mount Rushmore, but like at the same time, it's like it's kind of teetering. Like if you like could easily be chipped off, being like, you're not worthy enough. But like it's definitely one of them that kind of like sticks out for me.
Wait, there's 4 presidents on Mount Rushmore, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not even Canadian.
Says
we know.
the Canadians.
Canadian, we know that.
I almost went with that game, but I pivoted to a different one instead that I felt had the same energy, and it was January 14th, 2023 against the Chicago Blackhawks. And this game was just an offensive showcase. The Kraken scored 5 goals on Chicago in less than 4 minutes. And I think just the icing on that cake was Jared McCann got his first career hat trick in that game.
That game was insane. I completely forgot about that game. Mine are all really just kind of like, I guess, boring milk toast kind of, but I have like our first game ever.
That's on my
obviously.
list. That's on my list too.
list as well.
100%.
And then
Good
I have
vibes.
our first playoff game ever.
Mhm.
That was like probably my favorite game of all time. That was just insane. I watched it at the 32 Bar and Grill. It was so cool. And then the Game 7 win over Colorado.
That's on my list as well.
Yep.
Has to
And
be.
then the Winter Classic. Those are my 4.
Yeah. Game 7 against the Avs is really high on my list. I think for a lot of reasons. Like, number one, we weren't supposed to make the playoffs at all. And the fact that we took Colorado to Game 7 is incredible. And the fact that we won is like another level of amazing. Like I still, that one still gives me goosebumps, to be honest. I do have a personal like connection to it. Like I actually had to watch it on a plane. I was flying back to Seattle, and so I was on a plane literally watching the game. And we like waited till everyone deplaned while we're still watching on our phones. And like as we're walking off, I'm like, we have to just sit here like at the terminal and like wait to watch the end of this game because I'm not missing this. And I'm like sitting there and we're watching this game and I'm looking around and there's some other people also like sitting watching the game. And like as the time's ticking down, like I'm getting so hyped, but I'm also like super emotional. I was like starting to cry because I'm like, this team's gonna do it. They're gonna do it. And then so we're listening to Everett Fitzhugh give the call that they actually beat the Avs, and I can't get over it. Like it's one of my favorite moments in hockey ever, just because of that whole situation, but also like how incredible that they were able to go to round two of the playoffs by beating the Colorado Avalanche. Just that's to me that's top game. That's like my top game. But yeah, so I basically had that one. I have the Winter Classic. I have our first game ever, and then I have this recent comeback against the Canucks.
So my fourth, I did have an Avs playoff game, but it was not that one. I had game four of the playoffs when Jordan Eberle, my hometown boy, slammed in the overtime winner and the place just erupted. And I remember like it wasn't as exciting as watching on a plane and then hauling ass with your carry-on to find a Chili's in the airport to watch it on or huddle in a corner to watch
No,
your
no,
phone.
just sat right down at the seats.
But
Nothing fancy here.
I was in the Canadian brew house and I was four baskets of chicken wings deep and I jumped out of the booth and I can just only imagine what CPA was like that night, just erupting off of that overtime goal.
Honestly, when I think of that game, like that was the game that solidified Jordan Eberle as the captain without actually like announcing him as captain. Like that was the game that was like, this is our leader. This is the one player that's gonna like, see us through and whatnot. And like that was the day that I was like, no, Jordan Eberle, I think he could be captain. And then, fast forward all these, all this time, he's finally is the captain. But yeah, that's definitely one of those moments I can think of.
By the way, CPA was louder than you can even imagine, dude.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I was working on the ice crew for that entire series and the Dallas series, and every time I went out there, it was like I could not even hear myself think. And it was inherently not when the players were playing. It was in between. So like I just can't imagine how loud it was for the players when they were like barely missing the net. Just must have been roaring, absolutely insane.
I think I have like permanent damage to my ears from being at playoff games. Totally worth it.
Like I've never experienced a game at the CPA, but like I can agree with you on the fact that like if anytime you're in a playoff environment, like you can't hear yourself think, you're like, do I need to do anything? Like everything like that you normally do, like should I start breathing now? Like should I blink? Should I take a sip of water? Like should I hold onto the railing in front of me? Like all those things become like you really need to start thinking of your basic functions because it's so loud, the atmosphere is insane. So like no, I totally get it.
I mean, you haven't even experienced a Kraken goal, so
Yeah. Don't remind me, okay?
That's
It's
crazy.
gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm
That's like rubbing salt in the wound. Nice.
gonna go eat my poop sandwich, okay?
No.
all right. Does everyone say all four of their
Yeah.
Yeah.
games?
Yeah.
All right. And with that, Heather, do you want to let us know what our week ahead looks like?
I would love to. The Kraken play Monday, January 6th versus the New Jersey Devils, and this is a stream game. So please come by and hang out with us. We're going to have a great time. We are now moving into a position where we're just going to enjoy the games and we're going to celebrate all the little things. So please come do that with us, hang out, chat. It really is fun for us, and we appreciate everyone who's done so far. Also, if you are going to the game, it is Pride Night at CPA. You can purchase a special ticket to get a Kraken Pride tote bag. So just keep that in mind as well. Thursday, January 9th, they played at the Columbus Blue Jackets. That's a 4 p.m. start. Saturday, January 11th, they are at the Buffalo Sabres. That's a 1 p.m. start. And Saturday, January 12th, at the Detroit Red Wings. That is a noon start.
Awesome. And Derek, it's been a little while. Might be a little rusty, but do you want to let people know where they can find us?
Absolutely, I do, Matt. So first and foremost, thank you for listening today, or tomorrow, or whenever you listen to it. I guess it's inherently today if you're listening to it, right? Okay, anyway, philosophy aside, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube and leave a 5-star review on whatever app or medium that you're experiencing this wonderful podcast on right now. Make sure you check out the store at bit.ly/BTW store, common spelling. And lastly, I don't know about you guys, but I've made a New Year's resolution, and it is to not waste any of my prior written content. And unfortunately, the last time I had written this, Matt prepared a 10-page poem that absolutely killed mine, but here's this one tonight, all right? Beneath the waves, the place to talk hockey. When they get KHN, the Canadians get cocky. We all would like to see much better in the Kraken's play, but for now, go drop a follow at BTWSEA. BTWSEA, BTWSEA. That's part of the poem too. All right, thank you guys so much.